everyone, it's Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, here to talk to you about the new moon on August 18, 2020, and this reading is for Cancer and Cancer rising. Okay, Cancer rising, we are talking about the new moon at 26 degrees of Leo, falling right in your house of money. So you're going to want to hear everything that I'm talking about today. This is really an extraordinary new moon. As you start to see it unfold, you are going to find that there's even some hidden treasure here. So we're going to be talking about all of that. But let's start out with, yes, this is the sun, moon, and Mercury all in your second house, and that is your house of money, self-worth, possessions, and things like that. So this is putting a lot of attention on money. It is also saying that there's a new beginning happening in the area of money for you. And this is not just happening for the first week of this new moon energy, but it also is the only new moon you're going to have in your house of money for the rest of the year. So actually for a whole year. And so this is basically the beginning of your money energy. And so what you do now, planting seeds, creating new streams of income, all of that can really help you, not just this month, but going forward. Now, so as I said, it is sitting there with Mercury. And so Mercury is thinking process, how you talk to yourself, how you express yourself to others. And when we see it so close to the sun, it's something that we call combust. And that means the brightness of the sun obliterates the Mercury. And so it's going to be very difficult this month to hear what other people are saying. It is like all that you can hear is your own thoughts. Because that Mercury is so close to the sun, when somebody else gives you what could be really good advice, you may be going, I know, but I know what I want to do. And you're moving forward on that rather than maybe taking into consideration what they have to say. So just something to keep in mind as you're going forward. Now, there is also this sun moon at 26 degrees is making an exact trine to the south node. Now, trines are easy, but the south node is what you've done before. It's like going backwards. And so what happens is that you can slide back into old behaviors very easily. At the same time, you're doing that trine to Mars at 24 degrees of Aries. And so now we have what we call a grand trine. And now normally we'd say, yay, a grand trine, because generally it's a very happy aspect. But this, because it involves the south node, what happens is that you have this thought and you take an action, but that action is the same as something you've done before, and then you get into this feedback loop. Okay, well, I have to take more action, but that action is the same as before, and so on and so on and so on. So you have to be very careful about spinning your wheels and doing the same things rather than breaking out and doing something new. Now, when it comes to doing something new, that is that north node at 26 Gemini, that is doing a sextile to you. It is doing a sextile to this new moon. And what that means is that it's a little bit harder to do. You have to focus, you have to be mindful, you have to intentionally do something new. And when you do, then wonderful things can happen. This north node is just rising in your chart. Now, it's just a point in space. It's not a planet or a star or a luminary or anything like that, but it's a very, very important point. And when it's rising in your chart, it takes on more energy. So you do have that plus of when you do something that is new and on your life path, then things can really blossom. To add to the troubles, what we have is Saturn at 26 degrees of Capricorn, making an inconjunct to that sun moon. And that means that there is this uncomfortable feeling between what it is that you want to do and maybe the level of knowledge and experience that you have now. Saturn says that you can become an expert at something, but it takes practice, it takes time. And so in the process of becoming good at something, there's all of that struggle. And that's what the Saturn is. It is about working at something, doing mindful practice, even though, because of the inconjunct, you don't really want to. You want to just jump in and do it, and you want to do it perfectly. And when you don't do it perfectly, then you don't want to do it at all. That's not the attitude to have this time. It is that every single step you take forward, it might feel uncomfortable, but anything outside of your comfort zone is going to be good. Now, here's where the real magic of this chart is. It is in a sesquine. A sesquine is a 105-degree aspect that we don't ever really talk about because it's a minor aspect. But because there is a configuration with sesquines in it, we're going to be talking about it now. Now, what a sesquine is a combination between kind of a square and a trine. That means it can be challenging and easy at the same time. And so it's likened to trying to do something when you have your tools to do this thing are very dull. So have you ever tried to, say, slice a tomato when you have a dull knife? If you're not very careful, if you don't do it with intention, you can just end up squishing the tomato. So this is the aspect that you're doing. And so what we have is Saturn is making the sesquine to Uranus. Uranus is making the sesquine to the Sun, Moon, and then the Sun, Moon are making the inconjunct to Saturn. And that's our configuration. And so the point of hesitation or shyness or the point of reserve is that Saturn. And that Saturn in the 7th says that, you know, you're not talking to enough people, or you're talking to the same people who are not that helpful, or people around you are just being very negative. It could be that you're feeling very shy, you're feeling introverted, or you're in lockdown, and so the people you want to meet, you can't meet. And so all of these things, these external factors seem to be stopping you. But your hidden treasure is the Uranus. And the Uranus says that you can be innovative now, that you can join groups and organizations, that you can find like-minded people, that you can find your tribe. This Uranus says to apply technology and innovations to what you want to do. And as you do, you break out of this inconjunct between that Sun, Moon, Saturn, and you find a new way forward. This is in your house of the future, it's in the house of astrology, and it's in that house of technology. So all of those things can help, but mostly this is in the house of friendships. And so finding the friends who can help you by being, you know, very maybe frank and maybe very direct with you about what you should change, or perhaps they're being very loving and kind, but you just haven't heard it. This is where you want to focus your energies with intention to find out what you can do to go forward. Okay, let's take a look around the chart. And what do we see first for relationships? You have a full 7th house. So, and you're going to have that for a long time. We've got Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn there. So a lot of energy on relationships. But more importantly, what we're seeing is that the relationship between the 1st house ruler and the 7th house ruler are making that inconjunct. And I know, again, I was saying inconjunct's not fun, but at least it's an aspect. And that means that you can get into relationships right now. It's going to be a little bit difficult, and you can get out of relationships now, and that is going to be a little bit difficult. And so it's all about you weighing the pros and cons as you move forward. But you will have opportunities to do relationships this time, especially love relationships. It means that as you get into a love relationship, you're going to find that there's things that irritate you, and you have to decide whether they are so irritating that you want to back out of the relationship, or if you're willing to make the adjustments. When it comes to your home, it is ruled by that Venus in the 1st house. So we have a lot of positive energy around the home right now. You might be really loving your home or decorating your home, spending more time at home. Maybe you've been in lockdown now for a while, but now you just really enjoy it because you get to be at home. You know, perhaps you're outside more, and that's enjoyable. So all of this is good. When it comes to things like moving or making changes to the house, the energy is not quite lining up at the moment. There's no aspect between the moon and the Venus. And so you might be making plans, that's good, but to do the actual move, things could be a little bumpy. And so if you're having to move right now, you're going to have to, again, do everything with intention, you know, and really ask the universe for that help with co-creating your move. Otherwise, try and put it off for a little bit until this energy energy lines up. When it comes to your career, you're doing Chiron Mars. You're going to be doing Mars going through this house for the rest of the year. That's really good news. And it says that you can get a job, you can get a promotion, you can move forward in your career. That Mars is making a trine to the sun, moon. And so you really have very good aspects now for making progress in your career, of getting some recognition, and especially of finding a path forward. So, focus on, looking at maybe that org chart and saying, okay, this is the position I want. And you can start to stair step your way to that position. If you own a business, this is also a good time to expand. There may be a little temptation to do a lot of spending. We'll talk about money in a second. Okay, as promised, let's talk about money. So let's look at your second house. Your second house is Sun, Moon, and Mercury. So you've got an enormous amount of attention on the house of money, as we mentioned before. That really can bring in some more opportunities for money, different sources of income, selling things, side businesses, things like that. It also does say that if you're working for someone else, you might be getting more hours, so all of that's good. Your money house is pulling money directly from the sun in the second house. And so that really means that when you're confident about handling money and when you're creative in your ways of making money, you can do really well. So you do want to focus on that. Remember, it is doing that in conjunct to Saturn, and that can be the naysayers out there, the people who say you can't do it. So you have to weigh that with what experience have they had with what you're suggesting before you completely believe what they're saying. I mean, if there is somebody who said, they had that type of business for 15 years and they say, don't do it, then believe them. But if they haven't had experience with that type of business, maybe you can look for somebody who has had that experience and find out what they say. When we look at your money derived from career and also passive income sources, or money that comes from a family business, royalties and commissions and things like that, we're looking at that 11th house, and that has the Aquarius there. Now, you are doing that Sun, Squine, the Uranus, and so that is that aspect that I was talking about before. That is the dull tool to get what you want. And so maybe it is that you're starting to do some investing, but you don't really quite know what you're doing. And it's just going to take some mindfulness, some intention, some study. And as you do that, then the success comes in. So all the success comes with some mindful thinking. Like, if you have a business, maybe going through your analytics, or, going through your sales history and see what's working, what's not working. If you're doing affiliate marketing, again, what's working, what's not working, all of that. Now, when we talk about money derived from career, we have the Uranus in there. You're going to have Uranus there for a long time. And that does say that it's kind of flexible. Sometimes you're making a big check, sometimes you're not. If you're on commission, that makes perfect sense. But if you work a regular job, that can mean that you don't have a lot of hours one month, and some months you do. And so you probably want to pull in another source of income, especially because when we look at your money derived from career, we're looking at the relationship between Venus and the sun, and we don't have one. And that does mean that while you can make money, and all of the ways that I was talking about looking for promotions and things like that, you're not necessarily receiving that money in the next 4 weeks. And so money is either at the same level as it has been before, or it can even be a little lower. And so it's not going to rise until these two line up. And then when we look at windfalls, and that is when you take a risk, or like when you invest money to make money, like in somebody's business or something like that, or whether you are investing into a new product you have or some other thing that's risky. What we have here is the sun in conjunct Pluto, and so the returns on investment aren't that high. There's some adjustments that have to be made. It's possible you have to invest more before you make some back, and you're not making that much. So this, I would say, to be very, very cautious when it comes to anything that you would consider high risk this month. It's perfectly fine to do some paper trading and things like that. But if you're going to invest actual money, do be cautious, because this is not a great aspect. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please hit the like button if you like videos like this. Stay tuned.